Hello everybody, welcome to Module 8. Let me share my screen so I can walk you through some cool stuff in Module 8. Okay, so in this class we have discussed targeting audience and what it means to have an audience. We've discussed different strategies people use to try and target their audience. Now you're going to be exposed to this concept in a bit more detail. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be thinking and revisiting this concept of audience in terms of having you write for or write in a form of new media. So you're going to use a form of new media to target kind of a new or contemporary audience. You're going to write for traditional media. So you're going to end up writing for in a traditional format for a more traditional audience, and also for writing for academic media, which is scholarship and so forth. And we're just doing, frankly, we're just doing a really brief touch on that because, scholarship has, or the academy has their own language, their own reference style and everything, and we're kind of just going to touch on that a little bit. You'll get into that in more detail in English 112. So I'm going to leave that there. So today you are going to have an introduction to this concept of writing for different audiences. Now, I'm sorry, I should have opened up Word. Here we go. So in your introduction for, or in this introduction for writing for different audiences, you're going to, or I want you to start by thinking about a scenario in which you need to introduce yourself to someone. So imagine for a moment that you are you're showing up for the interview for the job of a lifetime. This is the best job, the most amazing job, your dream job, the thing that you want more than anything in your life is to have this kind of job, to work in this field, to work for this company. They're going to offer you a ton of money. Millions of dollars are on the line, and you've got 30 seconds to introduce yourself to the interview committee and impress them. In this situation, how would you go about introducing yourself? Would you be slouched in your seat? Would you dab with the person across the table, or would you shake their hand formally? Would you speak in formal language, or would you be all giggly, bubbly, and LOL, and that sort of a thing, using less formal language? How would you dress for this occasion? In formal attire, or would you be wearing, your workout sweatpants with a hole in the knee and a sweaty t-shirt? I think that you would probably make sure that you were formally dressed, that you maybe straightened your back if you're sitting, that you gave a handshake if you were standing, a formal handshake instead of a dab or even a fist bump, which I've started doing a lot of lately. You're going to have a formal presentation of yourself for that specific audience. Now imagine that you are going to introduce yourself. Again, the content is the same. You're introducing yourself to a different group. Let's say that this time you were actually going on your first date with someone, and it was a blind date. You were set up to go on this blind date. You meet this person at the restaurant. How do you introduce yourself now? Well, it might be a little less formal, right? Depending on the restaurant you're in, you might be still dressed up kind of nice, but maybe not quite as nice. Maybe depending on the restaurant, it is kind of a casual get together, and so you're a little more casual, but not so casual that you're wearing your workout clothes with the hole in the knee. And your attitude might be a bit different. You might focus more on telling them, this person, about yourself and about your feelings and kind of your experience in life, as opposed to maybe in the job interview, you focus more on talking about your credentials and your past work experience. And maybe in this context, you're a little more casual with your language. and your tone of voice might be a bit more expressive in terms of like a personal one-to-one interaction as opposed to the formal, please hire me and see that I'm a professional sort of interaction. So even though you're introducing yourself and you are still the same person, the way in which you present yourself to your new audience is different. I'm going to give you one third and final example, and then you'll see how this relates to the assignment. Let's say that now you are transitioning over to not working. You are going to someone's house and you're going to babysit their 6-year-old kid. And this is the first time you have met the kid, and you need to introduce yourself to this child. How would you go about doing that now? In this situation, you might say something or you might adjust your language completely to be shorter sentences. You might have a really kind of over the top sort of tone because you want to get on the kids' good side so they don't like make your night terrible or your time together terrible, right? So you might be like really expressive and high five, Jeremy, or something. Or maybe even your voice goes up in tone. You're like, hey, Jeremy, how are you? Do you want to play with your blocks? Or whatever it is that you're going to say to the student or say to the child. So your tone of voice even changes. You're not going to talk about yourself in the same way that you would in the interview or on the date. You just might say, hi, my name's so-and-so, and I've got a kid about your age, or I've got a younger sibling your age. And then you immediately get into the things that the kid wants to get into, which are going to be fun stuff, games and snacks and all that stuff. So in presenting yourself to the 3 different audiences, even though you're presenting yourself in each case, you go about it differently. You're now going to take this same premise and apply it to a writing situation. You need to write a persuasive argument for 3 distinctly different audiences. So you get to choose whatever the argument is that you're going to make, but it has to be to 3 different groups. You have a little bit of flexibility in terms of your groups. For example, you might write to children ages 8 to 12. You might write to young adults like 16 to 24, or mature adults, say 25 to 55. And you can adjust the age ranges if you want. Or because you're making a persuasive argument, you might write to a group that is completely unaware of the issue. And when you're talking about writing to a group of people who have no concept of what you're talking about, your approach is going to be very different from writing to a group that is moderately aware of the issue or a group of experts. So if you choose to do this option, you're going to have to give a lot more context and a lot less high-level explanation. And here you're going to give maybe less context and more of a high-level, high-detailed explanation. And if you're writing to a group of experts, by golly, you better have some detailed evidence to support what you're saying, because the experts are going to tear you up if you don't. Okay, so your approach is different based on who your audience is. So you need to write at least 200 words to each audience about the same topic. Here's a place, this is one area where students kind of mess up this assignment, okay? What you do not want to do is to write about one topic to one audience and then write to your second audience about a different topic and then write to your third audience about a different topic. No. You're going to write about the same idea. You're going to make the same sort of persuasive argument to the 3 different groups. And so even though you're making the same argument about the same topic, it's just that your approach is different. Okay? Trying to convince children of something requires different tone, different word choice, different sentence length and complexity than for young adults or for mature adults. Okay? So write at least 200 words to each audience, meaning it's going to be at least a total of 600 words in total. So 200 for group 1, 200 for group 2, and 200 for group 3 about the same topic. Adapt the characteristics of your writing to meet the different needs of each audience. Children need you to speak in simple terms, people. Mature adults don't. They can handle the big words. Okay? So think about your choice of language. sources of information, your style, your tone, your presentation of evidence, and so forth. Now, think about this for a second. If you're talking to kids or to people who are completely unaware of the issue, you probably are not going to introduce any like evidence. You're going to do something more like, you'll make more of an analogy probably. So for example, if you're trying to teach children about, I don't know, racism, okay, and you're talking to a child about racism, then your approach is going to be something like, do you remember that time when Caitlin made fun of Jeremy because of how he looked? You remember how bad Jeremy felt about that? Well, sometimes people make fun of other people because of how their skin looks different. And so in that case, I've made an analogy. A child can grab onto that, and then you can enforce it with something like, and people feel bad when they're made fun of because of how their skin looks different. Some people even try and hurt other people because their skin looks different. Okay, so you're going to have to adapt your tone, and you're going to have to adapt the content a bit to be appropriate for that audience. And of course, so if you're talking about the same topic with mature adults, this is where evidence is going to come in. So don't use evidence for kids or young adults necessarily. Don't use it for people who are unaware of the issue or who are moderately aware. Well, maybe. But definitely you need to use evidence for from a group if you're addressing a group of experts or mature adults. So you should provide evidence from a source of your choice for at least one of your audiences. And I'm just telling you flat out, guys, the group that you want to make sure you have evidence when you're making your argument is going to be your most advanced group, whatever group that is. So find a credible source online that gives you some information that you can cite in order to convince that audience. If you need ideas for a topic to write about, you can choose from either the intermediate topics or the advanced topics section of this website. So this page, website one, has beginner topics. Skip that. Choose either something from intermediate or advanced. You don't necessarily have to choose one of these. These are just examples in case you're stuck, if you can't come up with something on your own. Okay, so that's what you're writing. Again, 200 words for each of the three audiences, total of 600 words. Please use headings to indicate the different audiences you will address. So you know that by now you got to have all this information here and you got to have that header. So pretend that I did that. So I'm going to do something like, I'm going to say children 6 to 10. And then I'm going to have my 200 words of whatever it is I'm going to say. And then I'm going to have a header that says teens, 13 to 19. And my 200 words, all you're doing with the heading is indicating to me, your reader, what group you're targeting so that I can see that you understand how to distinctly target different groups. And then maybe you do adults, 30 to 50 or whatever, however you want to do it. But give me a heading with your 3 sections so that I know who you're writing to. Okay, and that's module 8. You'll upload that document for grading. Thank you all so much. If you have questions, send me an email, and I'll see you later.